Good evening everyone, welcome to FGM eCast presenting the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. Tonight from Interlagos, we jump in just at the start of qualifying here. It's going to be a full night. Scotty Rankin's just getting himself sorted out, so I'm doing the intro for this evening. We've got 25 cars on the grid for this round. We're back to our usual proceedings tonight as well, so looking forward to this one. Another round, another one gone through. Thanks very much for the like there, Lukey. Appreciate it, mate. And yeah, we're getting towards the tail end of this season. We've got 4 rounds to go, including this one. And it's a pretty tight race at the top of the grid. I'll just wait for Scotty to get here. We'll have a chat about that quickly as we get through the next 20 minutes of qualifying. Back to sprint race format here tonight. So first sprint race, progressive grid, I should say. It's not cumulative, it's progressive. A progressive grid tonight, and then we get into our main feature race thereafter. Definitely going to be looking to not have the carnage that we saw the last sprint round when we did head to Watkins Glen. A fair bit of damage to a number of cars at that round from what is normally a pretty clean group of racing guys. So back to a track that most people will be familiar with, the Interlagos circuit, and that will mean that we should see plenty of good close racing here as this crazy field. They all went out at pretty much the same time on the outlap, so we have combined field qualifying here, not solo like there is in some other series. And I can tell you, Jack Boyd, who is our championship leader at the moment, cut and run to try and get out in front of everyone, so we're actually on board with him at the moment as he tries to take out yet another pole position. And tonight that pole position award is actually brought to you by Ferguson Group Media. If you're a small to medium business looking to get into social media or looking for some creative design, some strategy advice or some direction, then Ferguson Group Media are the company for you to have a chat with. So reach out, fergusongroupmedia.com, and send us an email, and they will be able to help you out there with any of your social media needs, small or large. So 16 minutes to go. Drivers just trying to find that space on the track, that cherished open area on the track where they can get a clean run and get their lap in. We've got a couple of our front runners still yet to post a time. Of course, trying to avoid as well getting any off tracks. So we'll just bring up the track map there. You can see just how frantic it is with plenty of drivers out on track. There's a couple still waiting in pit lane. One of our first anti-clockwise tracks here as well, so plenty of tyre wear on that right-hand front tyre as the guys get through the race. Lots of BMWs as we usually see to expect. Daniel Webster at the moment, the fastest of our non-BMW qualifiers, sitting in 4th. And we do have Matty Gray in the Ford Alpine, now in 11th place as the grid rolls on through. Frank Hodak just dropping into the top 10 there as well. So
I was just going to say, it's an interesting opportunity to actually mention Matty Gray because, look, my personal favourite is the Hard Charger Award. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy the championship standings. I'm just saying that it's a really, really good opportunity to convert a poor qualifying performance into a result in a different form. And Matty Gray has just jumped to the leaderboard of that, so perfect, exactly what we want.
Yeah, absolutely right. And the Boyd father and son combo have been running really strong over the last couple of weeks. In fact, it was Glenn Boyd finishing 4th. Was it in last week's Enduro or the week before when we were at the boot? I think it might have been at Watkins Glen where we had a 1st and 4th for Boyd Racing. So they're really, really performing well in that BMW. They've got it sorted out, and albeit it's a fixed series by sorted out, I mean they've got into a position where they're comfortable in how to extract pace out of the fixed setup that they've got here. We did forecast the massive changes that were coming through iRacing in our broadcast last week, and that did affect all of these cars. So with the exception of the GT, as was that Boyd just spinning around? No, it wasn't. Excuse me, that wasn't Boyd at all. I think it might have been Lavis. But anyway, the changes coming through. So there have been parity adjustments to all of these vehicles again in the setup for this race. So the drivers had that released to them earlier in the week. It's only Tuesday, so let's say it was yesterday. And the drivers just getting used to those setups as well. So could throw up some interesting results.
Yeah, look, the chances for overtaking here, I think, are a little bit higher than some of the other tracks that we go to. Spa's a little bit of an outlier. I believe it was actually Spa that we were at last week.
Yes, for the Enduro we were.
For the Enduro, yeah, so, the drafting situation, normally these cars don't... drafting's good, and it's also very, very bad for these cars. They nearly can't quite make enough of an advantage, but the straight here is nearly as long as the Camel's straight, and that really allows for, even if you get a poor run off the final corner and onto the uphill section, to really maximize your overtaking opportunities into what I think is one of the most tricky corners that you will encounter pretty much anywhere. Right at the end, down into turn 1, it's the center S's. Like, I love it personally. I really, really love it because it's so challenging. You've got to get the car pulled up, you've got to get everything stopped, you've got to get the car turned in all at the same time. It is near impossible to do that at high paces. You're going to make a mistake through there at some point during the race. That's pretty much the only way to do it.
Yeah, well, as we see a couple of our faster cars coming into the pits there, Jack Boyd just ripping into pit lane. Probably more than anything to do a practice entry as well for the race, for the longer race. So we will expect to see a pit stop. The other thing is there, Frank Hodak just jumps into pit lane too. We'll just quickly touch on the current championship points standings for this evening. And by the way, welcome, Scotty. You snuck in there while we were having a chat, and just welcome you to the coverage for tonight. So that is our current championship standings. We've got Jack Boyd, followed by Trent Lavis and Rick Kuznetsov. No changes at the top of the standings, but it has closed up a little bit at the top. So Lavis needs to have a good night tonight. And albeit that's not how you want to win, hopefully Boyd is a little bit off colour. He's been extremely consistent though and really quick, so that this championship closes up. It's really tight in that third, fourth position there with Kuznetsov holding a 37-point margin over Brady Myers, who has had a mixed bag in terms of the rounds. Not too bad last week, and then Daniel Webster hot on his heels as well. So some opportunities tonight for some drivers to really put in a challenge for the certainly the third spot on the grid, on the podium. As we go out of this round, we've got 3 rounds to go. So
yeah, look, I mean, it's hard to go when you look in terms of drivers. It's hard to go past Jack Boyd because he's just been so dominant and consistent as well. I don't even think he's put a foot wrong. I don't think he's been involved in any of the dramas. I don't think he's spun the car around all that heavily. I actually have some intel. I was watching Brady Myers the other day participate in the V8 Scops Bathurst 1000.
yes.
Oh man, was he quick!
Really?
Was actually in for... I don't think he was potentially in the chance to win in the last hour of the race. One of the other cars just ended up running away with it right at the end. But just prior to that, he was running in the top 3 and looking like he might be able to lock up a second place finish before some shenanigans come into play. And well, he still finished in the top 5, which was a really, really good job. But he was one of the more consistent quick drivers that was also able to manage their tires and manage the pace across the entirety of a stint. And Brady, that for me, when you ask what is he capable of, what is he able to pull off, that right there, pace across the journey of a stint. It's consistent, clean pace around Bathurst in a V8 supercar. That guy needs to get himself a really high tier IRL gig. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's everyone, and I think it's a reasonably fair thing to say that in Australia you go iRacing and the only thing you ever want to jump into to start off with is a V8 supercar until you discover that there's this whole other world that exists of cars that actually brake, turn, and go. and I'm certainly one of those graduates. The V8 supercar is probably one of the hardest cars to drive quickly on iRacing. It's not forgiving if you get the turn in wrong. It doesn't stop if you try and run it deep into corners. And so, to drive those fast, it's not as easy as it seems. In fact, the GT cars are far easier and far more forgiving to drive than the V8. So, hand goes out to those guys who ran that 1000 event on Saturday just gone.
Yeah, so a lot of time and effort that they had to put in, especially with changes much the same as what these guys are going to be going through at the moment, although slightly less preparation time for the 1000. But hey, whatever, they'll put their head down and they'll take it. They'll do whatever they can. Look, it's going to be a difficult evening. That much is for sure. Interlagos, you get a couple breaths, but you're working the cars so hard all the time. Do you want to just take a quick look at the actual track conditions for me, Stuart?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's turn that on there so that we can have a look at. Obviously, we're expecting it's going to be a hot one. I'll just get rid of the track map there as well so you can see what's going on. Where are we? 33 degrees already, and it's in the morning. We're November 15, so we're into the future. That's my wedding anniversary, so happy anniversary to my wife. And but we're real early in the morning, 8:45, so it's only going to get hotter. Not ideal for not ideal for anyone to sort of get around. So expect that the race temperature here is, as we just see a couple of guys shoot off on the right hand side of the screen there. Expect the race temperature to be somewhere probably in the mid to high 30s. If not, we will touch in the 40 degrees by the time we get to the second race. So that'll mean there'll be a reduction in grip. So getting a really good qualifying time in now while the track's basically at the coolest that it's going to be at for the entire race or both races this evening is extremely important. Just while we're doing that, looking at current standings, we've actually got Jeff Connell, last week's race winner, on pole position at the moment. Now, Jeff played down his chances of any sort of a victory last week, particularly in the post-race interview with us, and not here, but just in general in terms of lap pace, but he's doing a cracking job at the moment. He's actually only 0.3 quicker than Brady Myers, but both are quicker than Jack Boyd. So at the moment, Jeff Connell going to take out that Ferguson Group Media pole position award for this evening. We've still got just under 6 minutes to go in the qualifying session, so wait for the rush at the end for probably our top 5 to 10 drivers to get out on track and position themselves for a final run to take that late charging pole position award.
Okay, so I have a small update. There's an error, and it's actually going to prevent me from joining the session, which is really unfortunate because I was actually looking forward to seeing what Connell, Myers, and Boyd would... The pace between them is so similar that it's ridiculous. So...
Absolutely,
it's going to be on for an awesome race, and it's actually kind of heartbreaking. I'm going to miss this one. So
if we look down, just to give the audience wows, it's a big off there, so that will require an injection. Our top 14 drivers are covered by a second. So we've got 32.68 on pole position at the moment for Jeff Connell, and right back in position 15 we have a 33.68 as we actually now have a dead heat for pole position between Jeff Connell and Jack Boyd, both doing a 32.68 identical laps. Interestingly enough though, generating pace in different sectors of the track, so that means that this race is going to be on when we get onto it. That's really weird, massive differences, unless there's some traffic involved, but we've got 5 seconds difference in one sector, so that doesn't seem quite right to me. So we're on board at...
Yep. So when we're talking about that as well, what is going to play such a huge bit of update into everything is the fact that the slipstream is just going to be so prominent. You're going to see these guys, I'd say, probably pass each other multiple times throughout the race, which is really, really good in terms of overall pace and overall show that's going to be put on. So
it's great for us.
Oh yeah, we love it.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be the Jack Boyd show for once.
we were spot on to pretty much every driver out on the track at the moment, with the exception of Jeff Wang, and we've got Matty Gray in pit lane as well. So the drivers indicated as being in pit lane there as well. Dennis Guitaric, Miles Bond as well. So perhaps not making it to the qualifying session tonight, or choosing not to qualify. I hear of any rumblings, but we will we'll catch up with that throughout the race. Obviously at the start of the race, most certainly. So the other good thing that I like about these races, you just mentioned it before, is that they are a great opportunity for drivers to progress throughout the evening. And one of those drivers who does actually do reasonably well at taking advantage of that is our man Frank Kodak, who generally manages to try and keep himself clean and clear of the incidents, and really bank and progress his effort through the night. So looking forward to seeing how he goes. He's currently sitting down in 17th on the grid, so that will play well into that strategy to just progress himself up to the front by keeping his nose clean and out of trouble. Championship implications, of course, as well start to take effect tonight. Getting that close to the end of the season, the guys will want to have one eye on the prize, so to speak. After this, we do head to Road America. We've then got an enduro at Sebring, and we will conclude the championship at Bathurst with another endurance race. So second last of our sprint format rounds tonight for the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series.
Yeah, look, we've come so far, and there's there's been a story happening pretty much right the way throughout the season, so. Look, anyway, like I said, Stuart, I am actually going to have to bid you adieu tonight, so I wish you all the best of luck with the broadcasts, and I'm going to mosey on out. It's a little disappointing. Interlagos personally is one of my favorite tracks. I really love the way it flows, whether that's in a Formula One car, whether that's in GT3, whether it's in V8 supercars around here, are actually fantastic. If you haven't had the opportunity and you do have the content, definitely a recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Good luck with getting your PC issues resolved.
Thanks, man. I'll catch you again. I think it's next week. Next week on Tuesday, we'll be back together again. So.
That's exactly right. I'll catch you then.
See ya.
Bye. All right. So Scotty's out. We've got a minute to go here. I can tell you, Jeff Connell's actually gone quicker. He's done a 32.59, so he is now clear in front. Jack Boyd is in the pits. Not sure that he is going to get out again. 50 seconds to go in this one. So let's jump on board with Brady Myers, who is still on a fast lap. He's just getting into it now, and looking at him as the only, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers potentially that can challenge for pole position. Myers, having done a 32.91 as his fastest lap, so he needs to find himself 4/10 or thereabouts to take pole position from Jeff Connell. So we'll stick with him. I'll keep my eyes throughout the field. A number of drivers who have jumped into pit lane, only 20 seconds to go, so anyone on a fast lap now are the drivers that we're looking at. Simon Nicholson's just passed the start finish line. He did a 34.7 there. These drivers might struggle a little bit now. The track temperatures are starting to increase to actually get a fast lap out of the track. We've got Rick Kuznetsov here. He's on a flyer, and that is it. There's all finished. So too late for those drivers to get it done. Normally we do see a little bit of extra time there, but not tonight. So that finalises our grid. We'll just wait for the session to switch over now. But I can tell you it is Jeff Connell who's taken out the Ferguson Group Media Pole Position Award for this evening, earning himself a whopping $15, but it is still money for doing your hobby. So I'm hoping he is going to enjoy that one. Maybe buy himself a Palmer or something when everything opens back up. So we'll take you to the grid, and let's have a look at how they will form up tonight. We've got Jeff Connell, as we just mentioned, taking out the FGM Award, followed by Jack Boyd, Boyd Racing in second position. Brady Myers third, from Simon Nicholson in fourth. We've got Glenn Boyd in the second of the Boyd Racing cars in fifth, followed by Daniel Webster in sixth. Rick Kuznetsov in seventh, with Ian McMahon in eighth. Good effort from Ian there. Trent Lavis in ninth, a little bit down the grid for him, and Brady McHugh in 10th. Jeff Wang up into 11th position, followed by Toby Pope as we get to the end of the first 6 rows of the grid. Into row 7 here, Glenn Firth, followed by Sam Lehman. We've got Hayden Jackson in 15th, Sam Thurtell in 16th, Brady Buchanan in 17th, and Frank Hodak ending in the Ben Motorsport car there in 18th. Stephen Bartholomew in 19th with Dwayne Voss in 20th. Roddy Hobbs 21st, Matty Gray 22nd, and we've got Dennis Katarek and Miles Bond rounding out our grid here tonight. So we've got this first heat race here, followed by this 25-minute first heat race here, my apologies, followed by a 45-minute main race that will come directly after this. As we said, progressive grids, so do stick around. It's going to be a corker, I reckon, for the racing tonight. Just waiting here for the rest of the cars to make the grid before we get underway with the pace car. And that Porsche pace car there, ready and waiting. Do run race control here as the cars start to get underway. Hopefully they're not going to need to do too much work this evening. Jump on board with our pole sitter here, Jeff Connell. And just get to where it's going to be happening. I'm going to jump out a little bit here because it's always good to try and see as much as we can on the start here. Might even go a little bit further out and jump into the blimp mode here. You can see guys just trying to get some brake temperature into those brakes before the pace car peels off, and we'll see what comes of it in this early part of the race. As they come around, do about half the track here in warm-up lap, which they're pretty thankful for. Want to get some heat into the tyres if they can before heading down into the first corner of the track to make sure that they can pull it up, get it turned in and get through nice and cleanly. This will be the busiest period of the night for race control. They'll be Hawkeye Pierce just watching them, everything that goes on, and probably a little bit of Radar O'Reilly as well for those of you old enough to know who those guys are, but they'll certainly be keeping their eyes peeled on the pack and making sure that everyone gets through as cleanly as they can. They would have spoken about it in the driver's briefing about making sure to give racing room and getting through the race as they're crawling towards the line, and we're off and running here. It is going to be on like Donkey Kong, as we always say, and those damn stadiums getting in the way of us being able to see that down into turn one. It's a tight left-hander here. Got to give room on the outside to move back down, and it's Jack Boyd who's managed to get his way through there, and Jeff Connell getting swallowed up by Brady Myers as well. Simon Nicholson right on his right-hand rear wheel as we head down, trying to get through cleanly here. It looks like only a couple of cars have gone off track there. No incidents to speak of as well as we head into the left-hander. This is quite a tight track if you make it so the drivers here are going to want to try and get away as quickly as they can. So we head up to the left-hander here. This is a double apex left-hander. You want to get right round and get yourself the best exit possible before the heavy braking zone in around here. If you've never seen it and you don't know what this track looks like, jump on YouTube and have a look at the lap of Ayrton Senna getting around here in a McLaren. It is absolutely insane. So Frank Hodak there, unfortunately going off track, and he has registered an incident on our tracker. Jack Boyd is here, followed by Brady Myers. We've got Jeff Connell, our pole sitter, down in third. Simon Nicholson, fourth. Ian McMahon in fifth. We've got Rick Kuznetsov in sixth. Daniel Webster 7th, Trent Lavis in 8th, Glenn Boyd in 9th, running out of top 10, Stephen Bartholomew in the first of our GTs. So they make their way up towards the run through onto the straight to complete the end of our first lap, and it will be Jack Boyd who takes us through to get the job done. So we'll jump on board with Jack now as we head down into turn one. It's a heavy braking zone. You've got to get the car turned in and get through there nicely, as we do have Hayden Jackson entering pit lane as well. 23 minutes to go on this first race. Been a great clean start. The drivers have all done a fantastic job to get through without any issue. So it looks like Miles Bond and Dennis Gutarikin not actually starting the race, so they are out. So we've got a field of 22 cars as we sit at the moment. 3 cars in pits lane, Jackson, McHugh and Pope making their way through. Ian McMahon currently running in 5th. He is up 3 spots and doing a good job to progress his track position from a great qualifying effort. He's got Rick Kuznetsov right behind him, currently sitting 3rd in the championship. So he's up. Rick is up 1 position from his qualifying into 6th, and is currently putting a little bit of pressure on the back of McMahon with his last lap being slightly cut. Just change the tracker across the top there so we can actually have a look at the intervals between our drivers, so that you guys can get a feel of where we're at as we head through and now on to lap 3 of this 25-minute sprint race. Jeffrey Wang there making a move on Brady Buchanan as they battle it out for 15th and 16th position. There's a good battle pack developing at the front, and we've still got then for 4th, 5th and 6th a strong battle happening as well. So we'll jump on board this one here. As you can see there, it's because Ian McMahon being pressured by Rick Kuznetsov and Simon Nicholson just in front of the pack. And up front, I can tell you it is still Jack Boyd in front from Brady Myers with Jeff Connell in 3rd, but that pack is close together as well. So keep an eye on what happens there. Kuznetsov will want to make some hay if he can to get up into that top 5, even the top 4 if he can do it, just to keep the gap between himself and Brady Myers for 3rd in the championship overall. So if you have just joined us, we are at Interlagos tonight, thanks to HJ Plant Repairs for the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. And I can tell you it's been a clean start to the race here, with Jack Boyd getting the early advantage on Jeff Connell off the start line. Connell, our pole sitter, and it is Boyd from Brady Myers at the front of the field here. Gap of about, well, you can see the gap for yourself there. It's closed right up. In fact, it hasn't closed up. It's been like that since the start. So Boyd trying to get a gap. He wasn't or isn't the fastest man on the track at the moment. That belongs to Brady Myers, who last lap around did a 33.01. Track temperature will be climbing. We ended the qualifying session with a track temperature of 33 degrees. And you can see there now track temperature already up to 36, and that will climb into the 40s for our main feature race. So grip will be a challenge here, and it will become an increasing challenge for the drivers as we get further and further into the race. So the field's reasonably condensed. There's just a couple of drivers off the back, but we've got plenty in that mid-pack who are battling away. It's Ian McMahon still here in front of Ian Kuznetsov, instead in front of Rick Kuznetsov, my apologies, by half a second. And then you've got this other pack that's formed, Webster and Trent Lavis, who is just putting a pass on him to move up into 7th position now. So a good clean pass there to make his way up into 7th. He equally is wanting to try and make his way back up in the championship to make sure he banks some points tonight. So he'll be wanting to not get held up and keep getting the moves done. So just scroll back down through the field here, and Brady Buchanan now made another move to see Sam Fettel there running wide in the bottom of your screen. So Buchanan there trying now to chase down the Ford of Matty Gray in front of him. Frank Hodak getting the move done there on Sam Fettel as well, who probably would have got a slowdown for using that bit of the track there that they don't pay to use. So he has had that done there. A little bit of damage on the wing of Frank's car, is it? No, it's not. So Frank's still running clean, which is good to see. He will make his way back up underneath here. Great racing from these two drivers, giving plenty of room to one another. It would have been very, very easy there for that to have ended in an accident. So it's good driving from Sam Fertel there, my apologies, to make sure that there was plenty of room as he was on the wrong part of the track. So we'll just stick here with these guys. We do love to try and give as much coverage as we can to everyone throughout the field. This battle here going on for 16th and 17th position between Frank Hodak and Sam Fertel. As they head onto the straight here, the advantage of the draft is reasonably big here. The straight exceptionally long, so a good opportunity if you're in the draft to try and make a pass under the bridge down into the braking zone, and not quite close enough to get it done there. Getting the car turned in, taking a little bit of the grass with him, getting a big slide on there, and a too big a slide, and he unfortunately there, Sam Fertel, has met with the wall, so that'll release the pressure from Hodak, and he can try and make his way up onto the back of Matty Gray to put on some pressure for that position. If we jump back into this battle here, which has not changed one iota, still less than half a second gap between these three drivers, first, second and third, Boyd, Myers and Connell, as we have 16 minutes to go in this race. Three fantastic race drivers doing what they do best, racing nice and close without incident and putting pressure on one another, but Jack Boyd eating that pressure up, doing a ripping job at the front of this pack. So I can tell you now that Lavis is putting on a whole pile of pressure. He's almost back up onto the back of Kuznetsov here, who hasn't managed to get past Ian McMahon, and he is going to be visited very shortly by a quick closing Trent Lavis, who is faster at the moment than the next three cars in front of him. So he is loving the conditions and getting the job done. As you can see in the background there, Steve Bartholomew is past. Got to get my teeth in tonight. Steve Bartholomew is putting some pressure on the back of Daniel Webster as well, so that is for position 2. And Bartholomew looking to move up into 8th position. We'll keep an eye on that one as this battle between Nicholson, McMahon, Kuznetsov heats right up. We've got a train of cars now behind Nicholson. Nicholson, McMahon, Kuznetsov and Lavis. This has helped Lavis significantly to close the gap right up onto the back of Kuznetsov, so he'll be challenging for that position when he can. Look at them there, bumper to bumper. It looks like Pitt Street in Sydney on a Friday night when you're trying to get out of the city. It is absolutely jam-packed. 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 drivers join the train. Stephen Bartholomew on the back of it now as well. So we're going to stick with this battle here and keep an eye on it. Just do some extra camera stuff here and we'll see if we can get a better view of this chain of cars. Train of cars. Call it a gaggle. There's any number of different things we could call it, but they do really well. Great driving from all of our drivers so far tonight. Keeping it clean and good racing right throughout the pack. Here, 2, 4, 5 cars all covered in a line. 6 cars in the chain now. From 4th all the way back to 9th position. So this could help some of those cars further back down the grid as well. Remember, it is a progressive format tonight, so we end up with the finishing positions in this race will dictate the starting positions for our next race. Always there's a move put on there by Lavis on Kuznetsov, not quite getting it done. Stuck the nose down the inside and ended up being in the wrong position to carry out that move. heavy defending going on here in the slowest part of the track. This corner can catch you out if you're not right where you need to be. It's a little bit deceptive. It's quite quick through there. You've got to have the car in the right spot on the track to get it done and not run wide as the drivers head around yet again to complete another lap, making the run down the main straight. Not as much assistance from the draft here as I was expecting to see, but the drivers doing a good job right up on the back there. You've got Bartholomew on Webster. He's going to get the pass done down the inside, is he? Yeah, manages to pull that one off, just pulling it forward up there under brakes. You can see it squirming away in the background as it struggled to keep the grip on this hot circuit. So he's now under pressure from Daniel Webster, looking to get that position back. And it's definitely a case where the temperature in the track is affecting the way these cars can handle and stop. So I'm going to be very interested to see the pit strategies into the next race, whether or not they get it out of the way earlier. Certainly won't take tyres, but try and get some clear air to run as they adjust to those track conditions, which, as I said earlier, will be in that mid 40 degree range as this battle here continues. I can tell you at the front, not a lot has changed. We've got Boyd from Myers, from Connell, those three still relatively close together, as you can see there, but gapping this pack here, so not able to work together to try and catch up there. As you can see, McMahon running wide, as we mentioned earlier. That corner, very important to get your turn in right, or the exit, you pay the penalty. And he's run right there and has got an off track for it. Shouldn't be an issue for this race, but they are cumulative as well, so any off tracks that you get, any off track points you get during this race, carry over into the next one. So it gives you an unnecessary pressure if you rack up too many of them, to make sure that you don't end up with a drive-through penalty, or worse, a disqualification. So we'll just jump away from this battle for the minute, as we just see here Glenn Firth getting the job done on Sam Lehman. So that is the battle for 11th and 12th. They're about 4 seconds away from the back of the pack that we were just watching, and do everything they can in the remaining 10 minutes to catch up to that pack, but progressing well. Steve Bartholomew is actually the fastest mover so far in this race. He's up 11 spots from his starting position, so doing a fantastic job in 8th, and he is well and truly entrenched in this battle. So don't be surprised if we see some challenges coming. Try and take advantage and get up into the top 5. These guys here with some cars really protesting, trying to pull up down into the hairpin. On board again here with Ian McMahon. He has given himself a little bit of a gap now over Kuznetsov, and is trying to put the pressure on Simon Nicholson to move up into 4th position. Great view there down the straight to be able to see the cars as they head into turn 1. Slightly off cambered left-hand corner. As I said earlier on, one of our anti-clockwise tracks for the season. Big push under brakes there from Kuznetsov. Just allowed him to close up. A little bit of a flash of the headlights, I think, there as well, just to let him know that he is there and ready to pounce. Trying to put some pressure on again. There's a big push from Lavis as well. So this guy's adjusting to the decreased grip from the tyres. It's really closed up there. But the reduction in grip of these tyres, the driver's adjusting, and their braking zones certainly varying between the drivers. So gearbox here of Rick Kuznetsov, heading out and down as we go towards the last turn onto the main straight. Let's see here. It's going to probably be at the mercy of the draft. Lavis now looking to get the job done. Just might not have the speed. Kuznetsov here has done a great job to keep his car well positioned. And he's going to be able to defend it there. So good driving from Kuznetsov to defend his position in 6th. Down the straight there, he knew obviously what was coming up in front of him, and he knew if he positioned the car really well on the inside of the coming corner that it would take an exceptional pass from Lavis to drive around the outside of him. Lavis here doing exactly the same thing. He has not given enough room there at all, and I could see, unfortunately, I think that's going to result in a drive-through. He really needed to maintain the line there, and unfortunately that has taken Stephen Bartholomew and put him a number of spots down the grid. So expect to see, unfortunately, I think Lavis doing a drive-through as a consequence of that contact, which will also end his charge up the field. Back on board here with Rick Kuznetsov and the Lavis challenge. He will want to get back up onto the back of Nicholson and McMahon and try and make something happen, as we've got 6.5 minutes to go in this race. So I'm expecting to see a few more challenges here as we get into the last few minutes. Drivers do need to be aware or remind themselves that the grid is a progressive grid tonight, so they are better off banking a 5th, a 6th, a 7th in this race and starting there in the next race than they are, in fact, if they continue on and potentially lose the position. As we're going to see, I think McMahon is going to get the job done here. If he holds it around the outside, he'll be in a good position for turn 2, and he gets the job done, and that has massively exposed Nicholson, who's also let Kuznetsov have a nibble down the outside there through turn 3. I think he's going to get the job done and be far enough in front. He's gone very defensive here down on the inside, but Kuznetsov, Lavis and Nicholson all battling it out now for position 5, and that's meant McMahon can try and create a little bit of a gap here to give himself some breathing room. Now it's Kuznetsov who's having to do the defending to try and maintain 5th position here as Lavis continues to apply the pressure to him. Lavis very good under brakes in that BMW. It is BMW's 1 through 7 here, so that's all down to the driver and just adjusting to the grip levels with the increased tyre temperature. Wow, as we've had a car just bring back there as Ian McMahon, who disappeared off the screen for a minute, then it can be very, very unsettling for the driver behind him. You can see there Kuznetsov's closed right back up on the back again. So what we're looking for here now is the benefit of the draft. So there's going to be a dive. I reckon Lavis will try and get the job done here again. We saw him try and do it last lap. Try and use the draft to his advantage and run the car down the inside. Kuznetsov will be aware of it though. There'll be a fair bit of heavy defending going on, and I can tell you what, McMahon has left the door open, and Kuznetsov doesn't need more than one invitation to give it a go, but it's left him exposed now into turn 2. He wants to stick to the inside of the corner as tight as he can to defend from the attacking Lavis behind him. Just putting it in the gap there, but that really, he needs to defend on the inside here. These drivers, very, very good driving. Attacking really hard. You can see the gap there under brakes is not much, but no contact, doing a fantastic job, as it is McMahon from Kuznetsov. Out the back of McMahon's car here just to see, well, Lavis does a really good job there. Oh no, it's Kuznetsov just slides wide. I don't think there was any contact there. I think he's just slightly got in too deep under brakes, and that has meant that he has dropped a couple of positions. So he now returns to the back of this battle pack, and it's Nicholson now under pressure from Lavis behind him. We've got Daniel Webster there, Rick Kuznetsov dropping to the back of the pack. Very fortunate here that it hasn't affected his race as much as it potentially could have. He's closing right back up on the back here of the battle pack, and we wanting to try and get those positions back if he can. I can tell you at the front it's still Jack Boyd from Jeff Connell and Brady Myers. They're way out in front at the moment as we stick with this battle pack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars covered by a very, very small gap. Seeing Lavis there dropping down the inside. He's got a little bit of contact damage on the front of his car there. That was not of his doing. He unfortunately did get involved with the Kuznetsov turnaround, and I think he's actually redressed that on the back of thinking that he may have contributed to that in some way. I don't believe that he did. I think it might be what they call a net code, where the cars were very close together but not actually registering contact, but iRacing thinks that they did. So we'll leave that one up to the stewards, but it looked like just an outbreaking there from Rick in that episode, but good sportsmanship there from Lavis in redressing that as well. He's now back up on the back of Kuznetsov and applying pressure again. Glenn Boyd's joined this battle, so we've still got 6 cars covered by less than a second, and we also have a minute 48 left in this one, so there'll be definitely 2 laps to go, looking at where our leaders are now, with Jack Boyd about to start what will end up being the second last lap of the race with a minute 35 to go. So next time around he will get the white flag, and no, they've got it now, so final lap on the board now. So if any of these drivers are going to get it done, if McMahon is has to defend here from Nicholson, he's got a good gap on him, half a second going down into the last corner, as it is Kuznetsov defending heavily down the inside here, with Daniel Webster putting a big move on. If he keeps it through, he'll keep the position. They need to stick together if they're going to try, and well done, good racing room given again. And Webster there, unfortunately, looks like he's run wide, so Lavis now in behind Kuznetsov. There's a big run wide from Webster there, but he manages to keep the foot to the floor and get that done. Glenn Boyd making a move up. He's been sitting there quietly in the background. He's made up another position as well. So we've got Kuznetsov making a break for it. Really the last challenge here is going to be Ian McMahon, and we've got Simon Nicholson as well, as we get towards the end of this first race. It's been action-packed. This battle pack in the middle here has been absolutely fantastic. The quality of the driving, absolutely brilliant, as these guys have run nose to tail with almost no incident at all for a majority of the race. We've got Jack Boyd and Jeff Connell now bringing it around onto the front straight, and it's going to be Jack Boyd who's going to take out the heat win here at Interlagos, and he's done a good job to progress there. Jeff Connell in second, and we've got Brady Myers not too far behind in third place. That'll be the starting order for our next race. As we jump back here and see whether or not any changes have happened. McMahon is in fourth. We've got Kuznetsov. He's going to take out fifth. A great result for him. Glenn Boyd in sixth. Trent Lavis bringing that home in seventh position. We've got Daniel Webster in eighth. Simon Nicholson in ninth. A fantastic race from all of those guys. And Steve Bartholomew, hardest charger so far for the Peninsula Transfers Hard Charger Award, up 9 positions. That would have been more. He did unfortunately have a spin in the latter part of that race. Wow, what a great race. The drivers there doing a fantastic job to get that done. And I can tell you, we're about to head into our 45-minute race coming up next, and that will be a fantastic affair if this one's anything to go by. As you just see Glenn Boyd and Jack Boyd there get into a little bit of a formation, father and son, and they both had a cracking race. So expect to see Glenn Boyd push to try and get a little bit further up the grid as we head into the 45-minute feature race with the H-Shape Plant Repairs Aus Pro-Am Sim Series from Interlagos. So, everything changes over and we go again. That's the beauty of sim racing. Only a matter of seconds between events. The cars get back out. The drivers will quickly grab a drink of water, and as they do, I am too. So I'm just going to very quickly chuck... No, I'm not. We're going to get straight into it. So Just going to very quickly have a drink of water while the grid forms up. Thanks very much for the like there, Svetlana. I really appreciate it. And I'm just going to very quickly grab a glass of water before we get into what will be an action-packed 45-minute feature race here on the HJ Plant Repairs Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. Okay, and we're back, so just waiting for the pace car to pull off the grid here, as they will do, and then we're going to get into another 45 minutes here, the field under the control of Jack Boyd, and the light goes green and we are off and racing. It looks like Ian McMahon got a good start there down on the inside as we head down into... Oh no, and there's been a bump there from Connell on McMahon. Doesn't look to have affected them too much, which is good, so we'll get to see them get through the race. Everyone's going to get through turn 1, are they? Yeah, all the drivers have done a great job to file through turn 1 and what looks like turn 2 as well, as it is Jack Boyd from Jeff Connell, Brady Myers and Ian McMahon in 4th. Lucky there, McMahon, not to end up off track with a touch from Jeff Connell, so both drivers there lucky to get away with that as we get this one underway. And McMahon there just putting the push on, trying to get the job done and move himself up. So he's right on the outside there, and I think he's got a bump. This is going to cause some carnage, is it? So we're just watching there. No, it looks like McMahon managed to get that one back around straight. He's had a, shall we say, an unlucky start here. He's had a couple of incidents where he's been squeezed or pushed and has dropped a little bit down the field, not necessarily of his making, but he's done a good job to keep the car straight and on track, and currently unfortunately in 7th position for him, the benefactor of which was Rick Kuznetsov, who's now up into 4th position. Simon Nicholson, the biggest mover, he's jumped 4 spots, and then Brady McHugh up a whopping 13 positions in his Mercedes-Benz, so he has had an absolutely gripping start to this main feature race. It is Jack Boyd at the moment out in front. He's going to take us across the start-finish line for the first lap in this 45-minute feature race. Brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs. So at this stage, it'll be Brady McHugh, I think, who's going to take out the Peninsula Transfers Fast Charger, or Hard Charger Award, I should say. He's up 13 spots. Of course, there's still plenty of time for that to change. As we get through this race, there will be a pit stop. These guys will not make it to the end on a tank of fuel, so we're going to need to look at how those strategies went. You remember last week, this man on screen now, Trent Lavis, trying to do the race in one stop, and it's almost paid off for him. He was having to save fuel like a crazy person, and he got the job done. He actually did get across the line, dropping a position or so in the process, but did a good job to get the job done and still bring that strategy home. Probably not one that he would do again. Thanks for the follow there, Svetlana. Really appreciate it. And yeah, probably not one that he wants to do again tonight. So we'll keep an eye on when he jumps into pit lane. We're looking as well for information about the total pit lane transition. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate the follow. And just want to keep an eye on that time as well, so we get an understanding of where drivers will come in and out. As you can see there, Brady Myers using absolutely every part of the available track, and then some, doing the garden a favour. Cutting a little bit of the grass there. I'm not sure that he pays for the privilege to use that part of the track. As we see Glenn Boyd and Glenn Firth into pit lane very early. I didn't see any information to suggest that they had had any incidents, so maybe just getting it done, getting it out of the way so that they can run to the end. I think that might be a little bit premature, but we'll keep an eye on that, as it is Jeff Connell in second place, taking the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 33.26. So he is trying to put some pressure on Jack Boyd, who had control of the last race from almost the first corner. So he'll be wanting to close back up on the back of him there, as he is doing, and let him know that he's there and wants to get the job done. If you are looking to get involved in helping some of our sim drivers, you can see there Jeff Connell's car is looks like the Batmobile. And he would love it if someone wanted to jump on board and give him some sponsorship for the last 3 rounds of this series. As you can see, a front-running contender there with 0 sponsorship on his car whatsoever. He's definitely no slouch of a driver, with Jack Boyd extremely quick and reliable. So if you wanted to get some coverage for your brand, reach out to us, and we can put you in contact with Jeff and get him a nice new livery on that car. So do so and help out someone who's just putting a lot of pressure now on the back of Jack Boyd. We talk about it often. Don't know whether or not, yeah, that's what I was literally just about to say, Luke. Not sure whether or not this is a strategy by Jack to try and make sure that he maintains some tyre for the end of the race. He doesn't have to absolutely flog it right now to get out in front. The track will keep getting warmer, so the grip will run away. So tyre condition really important for these guys to maintain pace towards the end of the race. So it's reasonably close still back in the mid-pack. Just stick on this battle here, as we do see there a challenge for the lead. Boyd's on the right part of the track to defend his position on the run back out. Up into the hairpin here, defending heavily. Slowest part of the track before they make the run back down and around to complete the fourth lap, my apologies, of this race. So yeah, strategy definitely needing to come into the thought process here at Interlagos. The gap opens up just a little bit there. It's going to close here with the slipstream benefit for Connell. May not get close enough to have a dive. He's going to try, just not quite close enough to try and get that done, as Ian McMahon and Brady McHugh are both in pit lane. So these early pit stops, I'm not sure if that means that the fuel window is really close for these cars, or it's drivers just trying to get out of the pack and give themselves some clear air to run in. Given the number of cars that have come in already, I'm going to suggest that it's going to be close. I'm trying to see if they're just doing splash and dashes. Yeah, they are. So all of the pit times, the stationary time for the drivers while they're in pit lane is around about 10 seconds. So 31 seconds total pit lane transit time for the cars. So our leaders here will want to be trying to get out if they can into that gap to maintain the lead, understanding that they will obviously filter back up the leaderboard as the rest of the drivers get their pit stops done. So when do you spend the 30 seconds? That's the question. No tyre change done, so no tyre change should be needed either. It's in a 45-minute race, albeit the track temperatures will be high. It's not going to save yourself that time by jumping in and doing a set of tyres. As you said, Boyd and Connell here again, that gap closer this time, but Connell still not quite close enough to be able to get the job done here. And remember, he trying to get the job done, he's spending that tyre credit that he's got that he'll need later in the race when the grip drops away even further with track temperatures continuing to increase. We'll jump in and just double check where they're at now. 42 degrees, so we're only at 9:45 in the morning sim time, and 42 degrees, so that'll keep going up as we get through the race. Expecting it to hit probably 44 or so by the end of the race itself. Up a few degrees since we did our last race here just 15 minutes ago. I'm gonna have a look at this mid-pack battle now. We've got Brady Myers and Rick Kuznetsov fighting for position 3 on the grid. And then it's a couple of seconds back to Nicholson, Lavis and Bartholomew, who are fighting for 5th, 6th and 7th. We've also got Jeffrey Wang and Rodney Hobbs, who will jump back a little bit further and have a look at. Jeff Wang running in 13th position. He's got a second on the Ferrari of Rodney Hobbs. Got Frank Hodak a little bit further back there. Glenn Boyd having made his pit stop, so he is currently running in 18th, but is, I believe, fueled to the end of this race. So he'll make his way back up. Trent Lavis is just ducked into pit lane, so he's going to get his splash and dash done now. So it really comes down to when do you get it done. Just getting a little fast repair done there as well. Some damage to the left-hand front corner of that car. So that will help him make that a little bit quicker. So his stationary time, 8.7 seconds, so a little quicker. Still got the battle going on at the front between Boyd and Connell. Keep an eye on the Myers Kuznetsov battle raging in 3rd and 4th positions. Fertel and Lehman as well. There's a good battle going on there for 9th and 10th. So I'm expecting that pack to close up as we get towards the middle part of this race. You can see here Fertel in that fantastic liveried Mercedes-Benz with, I think it says Cabot Globe on it. Cabot Global, my apologies. So jumping on to the Mercedes-Benz there. And then we've got Sam Lehman right behind him, putting the pressure on. Toby Pope's only just in front of this battle pack too. And then there is a little bit of a jump up to 7th, 6th, and etc. in front of them. So Lavis has popped out in 13th position behind Jeffrey Wang. So that is 4 position, but it's going to need to try and make his way through if he can. Yeah, absolutely, Luke. That's definitely what we're concerned about. Is late race tyre condition. If Jack can hold him off and not spend, as we said, as many of those tyre dollars as Jeff is, then he'll definitely be able to run his way through to the end of the race. As you just see here, Lavis is going to put a move on down the inside of Jeffrey Wang as they head down the main straight. He'll get the job done there and close the door down into turn 2, and that moves him back up into 12th position, having served his pit stop. And now wants to jump up onto the back of Brady Buchanan and Sam Lehman, who are battling it out for the last part of our top 10. And again here, tyre management really, really important for these drivers. They will want to make sure that they don't wear their tyres out and really struggle for grip as the track temperature increases. Just seeing on the screen there that the driver actually in front, my apologies, is driver is Hayden Jackson, I believe. So Brady Buchanan there wanting to get through. He's looks like he's being held up a little bit in terms of lap times. Got 34 lap times are similar, that is actually a lapped car in front there, and Lavis has bumped right up onto the back of Buchanan. So with Sam Lehman, the next car up the road, but he's 7 or so seconds up the track. So really exposed here to the pass by Lavis, and under braking, Lavis is doing a great job all night. Actually, he's able to run a little bit deeper in these beamers than some of the other drivers that we've been on board with, enabling him to really close the gap into the braking zone. And the run that he's got there out of that corner up the straight is going to assist him to move up another position on Brady Buchanan and up into 11th, with the chase now being on. He has performed his pit stop, as we said, so he will move back up the field now, and expect to see him move up into probably our top 5 by the time the pit stops have gone. Comes down again to how much of his tyre is used up towards back in the race. You can see the cars there a little bit slidey. It's normal to see a bit of it, but the track temperatures here not lending any favours to it. Brady Myers has got a little bit of fresh air. He's 2 seconds down the road from Jeff Connell in front. Rick Kuznetsov is just about a second behind him as well. You can see him had just come into the picture. So Boyd's still here in front of Jeff Connell. Half a second. That gap has widened a little bit. Maybe the Jeff there just aware of the fact that he does need to try and preserve some condition on those tyres for later in the race. Very flowing track, this one. Get it right, it's a very rewarding place to race. Very easy as well to bite you in the bum and run wide and drop the tyre off. End up facing the other direction before you can even think about what to do. So it's a matter here of being consistent. There's still 30 minutes to go in this race. Non-compulsory pit stop, or they will need to pit, I should say, sorry. Bartholomew and Webster now in a tight battle as well. Webster's done a great job in this second race to keep the pressure piled on. Bartholomew up 4 positions from his starting position in 10. And Toby Pope and Sam Tertel as our fastest movers. Up 9 spots each to just check down the grid there. A fair bit of damage to the left-hand front corner of Bartholomew's car there. He'll get a new guard put on that when he jumps into pit lane, which will help him with a bit of the straight line speed. It's not affecting him too much because he hasn't run through the pit lane to get that done. He is in the pit window to make it through to the end of the race, so certainly help his chances to get that done, to get the extra pace in that car straight line. And just stick with him here. Is he going to pull in? Looks like he is. No, he's not going to pit in again, so we'll benefit from it to get that repaired. But anyhow, not affecting his overall lap pace too much as he continues to be within touching distance of the fastest on track at the moment. We've got Boyd and Connell doing high 33s and pretty much everyone else in the 34s. So Kuznetsov here has managed to open up a good gap for himself over Simon Nicholson, around 3 seconds. Brady Myers 2 seconds up the road, so it's in a little bit of a gap. Probably wants to try and use that to his best benefit before he jumps into pit lane. I tell you now, Lavis is only 26 seconds behind him, so good chance of an undercut here with the pit lane transition averaging 31 seconds. So at the moment, even Brady Myers is exposed, with Lavis may well move into the top 3 of this race by the time the pit stops are served. See there, it's still really tight at the front with Boyd and Connell. last laps absolutely identical like they did in qualifying, a 33.68 each. And as I said, that's actually the same lap that they were identical on in qualifying, so that's highly unlikely for anything like that to happen, but even less likely for them to then do it again during the race. 33.86 from Brady Myers, just slightly slower. And then we're into the 34s with Kuznetsov, Nicholson, Bartholomew and Webster, along with Toby Pope. Let's jump into this pack here. The move there on Lehman on Thurtell, continuing this battle for 9th and 10th, showing plenty of respect to one another. A little bit of a touch there, I think, but nothing too hazardous as these two guys continue to pile pressure on one another to get through the race and take that 9th position on the order. Gap there from Thurtell as well. He's run a little wide. He needed to try and keep the Mercedes positioned to be able to defend down into second last corner here as they get around. They get a really good run out of there, up the hill, through effectively the last corner and then down the straight. So you get the benefit of a little bit of a draft, but Lehman getting much better drive there up the hill, so it's going to be able to defend that position and now move up and sit in 9th. Sam Lehman, battle of the two Sams. Still very warm at the front here with only under half a second between these two drivers. Also have a look back here at Glenn Firth and Glenn Boyd, battle of the Glens, battle of the Sams. We've also got battle of the Bradys tonight as well. But battle of the Glens with Firth and Boyd here still tussling after the pit they did on lap 2. Still battling away for, at the moment, 16th and 17th. Battle of the Bradys up in front with Brady McHugh and Brady Buchanan, along with battles of the Sam. So yeah, what's going on? As we said, challenge for the lead at the front here with Boyd and Connell. Connell trying to get the job done again down into turn 1, and Boyd able to defend again on the way out of turn 2. He'll stick right down the inside here if he can, and really far down the inside. Just forced Boyd to go wide. Hasn't managed to get through there and to make that happen. But he's going to keep pressing. He's going to be right on the tail, Connell, of Boyd. And there's a big slide there. I'm not sure if there was any touching between the two cars. I think what you've seen there, so Brady Myers takes the lead of the race. I think there may have been a small bump, and you see there that Jeff Connell let Boyd get back onto track in front of him, potentially to avoid any drive-through issues if there were any. It didn't see any bumps or anything come up on the screen to alert us to the fact that there'd been contact, but again, could have been a netcode issue or just a little bit of the better part of the Valor portion being the better part of Valor there. So that means we've got a new race leader here with Brady Myers jumping through as a consequence of that incident. And like it's Groundhog Day, we've got the same 3 cars battling at the front of this pack for the race. We're in 22 minutes to go here. Out into Lagos. Oh, there's another big slide there behind them, and you've got Jeff Connell just struggling a little bit there. I can't help but think that the track temp combined with using a fair bit of tyre in trying to take the lead has caused that, potentially with the out braking on the last lap, and now that into turn 2 or 3, sorry, with the car over-rotating on him. So he's now in third, under pressure from Kuznetsov, who might find himself on the grid if he plays his cards right, I should say. Jeff Wang in pit lane at the moment. Trent Lavis continuing to make his way back up the grid. He's now in 10th position. Kuznetsov wanting to put the pressure on where he can. Colin Boyd with slow last laps because of some incidents, and that's meant that Brady Myers able to create a gap between himself and Jack Boyd. Boyd may be conserving tyre a little bit here. But I don't think Brady's going to ask too many questions. He's going to try and get out in front and create a gap. Managed to do over the last 2 laps. He's bumped it out to just on 2 seconds. Which is enough as that lead driver to allow you to have a little bit of a breath. Not, you know, you can't be dive bombed or passed under brakes, and now it's just about being consistent, hitting those apexes, making sure that you're braking at the right spots, and just being as consistent as you can be with your lap times to try and build a lead. Person behind you is going to have to push to get you, so there's more chance of them making a mistake if you can be nice and consistent with the car. 20 minutes to go now. Good opportunity for us here while things have quietened down slightly in our battle packs. Just to mention our sponsors tonight as well. So HJ Plant Repairs, obviously the sponsor here of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, have been all season, and we thank them very much for jumping on board with a new series and helping the series organisers make it happen by putting up some fantastic prizes for our top 3 drivers at the end of the season, along with Peninsula Transfers, who have put some dollars behind the Hard Charger Award for the driver that makes up the most grid positions over the course of the season. Also, to our channel partners, Aftershock, your rig, your choice, to Ryan and the crew out there at St Kilda in Melbourne. They provide just about any type of computer you could need, whether it be a laptop or a gaming PC or something to do video editing on, or whatever the case might be. Ryan and the boys at Aftershock PC are able to look after you. I can tell you that we purchased a computer from Ryan and the team to do our broadcasting from, and it has never skipped a beat. A fantastic piece of equipment. And not only do they go really well, but they look amazing as well. We've got a clear glass computer case with a whole heap of lighting and things like that in it. They just look absolutely fantastic. So if you're looking for a PC, aftershockpc.com.au, and tell Ryan and the boys that we sent you, and they would look after you either way, but they'll certainly look after you at the shop. Virtual Motorsport Mentors, Chris Purnell and his team. If you're in sim racing and you want to go quicker, then Chris Purnell is the person to see. The team at Virtual Motorsport Mentor will help you either get into racing, get your gear set up properly, right the way through to track and series training for your sim racing needs. So you're trying to go quicker. All champions have coaches, so why not you? Jump on the website and organise a time to get a consult from Chris and the guys there, and they will help you make your time in the sim more enjoyable and certainly help you get race wins. So that's a virtual motorsport mentor, and we are a Razor streamer, so thank you to Razor for their support. I just want to touch as well very quickly, if you are looking to get involved in advertising business to a new audience, then we do have advertising packages available through FGM eCast. We are backed by Ferguson Group Media, so we do have the ability to create whatever it is that you want to allow you to promote your business to our committed audience. So send me an email, Stuart at FGM eCast, if you do want to get involved. If there's any aspects of the race tonight that you would like to know more about, whether it's getting involved in sim racing, or how to advertise, or how to jump on board and sponsor a car, whatever the case might be, shoot me an email. More than happy to help out. As just jumped on board there with Trent Lavis, who's now up into 8th position, having done his pit lane transit as well. So 15, just under 16 minutes to go in the race. So you can just see Sam Lehman running slightly wide there behind Lavis. He's now in pursuit of Daniel Webster, my apologies, who's in 7th position in the Mercedes, up 1 spot. And Brady McHugh, fantastic drive from him. Let's jump back a couple of spots. He is up 12 positions, and he's just getting a little bit of pressure here from Ian McMahon, who he just took a position from. So they're battling away now. This is for the 10th position on our grid. So just got notification there of Pope and Hobbs coming off the track. Myers at the front of the field still with a handy 1.5 second gap over Boyd, 3 seconds over Connell, and 7 back to Kuznetsov. So race at the front isn't over by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly a handy lead for Myers at the front of the race. Still potentially needing to do that pit stop. We do talk about pit stop strategy a lot, but it's critical as part of your overall strategy within the race. So just running real wide there, Brady. You're not lucky to not drop a tyre off, but no damage done. Can be a big game changer for your race strategy in terms of when you pit, and sometimes it's very dynamic in the way that you have to decide when it happens. Incidents in the race causing you to take advantage or lose advantage by not doing it at a particular point in time, and even things like entry and exit speeds out of the pit lane to maximise the entry speeds or minimise the impact as much as possible of the pit lane transition, and of course the stationary time, which is the thing that absolutely hurts you the most. So definitely settled down here. We've still got Hodak and Sam Thurtell battling away in 15th and 16th position still. So Thurtell having gone in and done his pit stop on lap 15, so just approaching 5 laps to go. The gap there just widens a little bit out to just over 1.5 seconds. as well. We have had a change back over for our lead with Jack Boyd resuming the lead of this race. I'm just trying to see if Hayden Jacks... No, it wasn't. So it looks like it was just a pass done during the lap there. So Jack Boyd back out in front of Brady Myers. Thinking that, just looking through the segments, can't see anywhere there where Myers has had an off or anything that has caused that to take place. But dropping a couple of seconds there to lose the front position. But Jack Boyd now trying to gap as much as he can. We've got Daniel Webster in pit lane now doing his pit lane transit from 7th position. So that brings Trent Lavis now up into 7th. As the first of our cars to have done a pit lane transition. Excuse me there as I bump the microphone on my way through. I've got a brand new headset tonight. My old headset paid the price. And so a new one, which is a little bit different, so just getting used to that. Didn't realise how uncomfortable my old headset was until I replaced it. That's often the case. So Jack Boyd makes his way through again, wondering when he's going to pit. This lap now, so in comes our race leader Jack Boyd. Watch for Jeff Connell, see if he responds. He has not, so he is now back out in front. What will Brady Myers do? He hasn't jumped in. Rick Kuznetsov has, however, jumped into the lane. So at the moment we've got Connell for Myers, and we've got Simon Nicholson, who will take up 3rd position. Steve Bartholomew doing a fantastic job. He's still got to make his pit lane transition. There's Trent Lavis on the track. He's coming around onto the main straight now. So Jeff Connell here going to have to put in a really solid lap, because he no doubt will jump into pit lane next time around, and that will leave Sam Lehman, Myers, Nicholson and Bartholomew as the only drivers not to have done their pit stop with 9.5 minutes to go. Just stick on board here with Jeff Connell. Bring that track map back up. Just keep an eye on Boyd's come out already, so he's in front of Kuznetsov and Lavis. So really what we're looking for here is to see where Lavis comes out after the potential pit stop here with Connell, Myers and Nicholson. I'm betting he's going to come in this lap, is he? Yes, he does. So in this lap for Myers, in this lap for Connell, leaving Simon Nicholson effectively in our race lead. He too is coming in. So Steve Bartholomew in. So Jack Boyd resumes the lead of this race after a very short intermission for him. Jumping on board with Lavis just to see where he is going to jump to. Jack Boyd back up. We've got Jeff Connell on his way out of pit lane. Brady Myers also out of his stop. And where are these two coming around? They're just a little bit further behind, so it's very close. Just watching it adjust there. Brady Myers about 3.5 seconds gap between himself and Kuznetsov, and Lavis right behind. So Boyd comfortably out in front at the moment. He's got a 3-second lead, so he will be able to manage himself to the end of this race and take out a double, which will be what he'll be looking for here, taking out our feature race as well as the sprint race that was run and won earlier on this evening. Jeff Connell in 2nd place, so he's done that in the pit lane transit. Brady Myers in 3rd, and then just 3.5 seconds back down the road and under pressure from Lavis. is Rick Kuznetsov, who is just 3.5 seconds down from Brady Myers. Board now. Go for a flying lap around Interlagos, courtesy of Trent Lavis. As Jeff Connell is in pit lane. He must have got a stop-go penalty for speeding on the entry into pit lane. So that is going to drop him down the order. As we're on board with Lavis now, Kuznetsov, Lavis 3rd and 4th. As a consequence of that, it was just a pit lane transition by the look of it. So drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane, potentially for Jeff Connell. You can see there from that onboard just how difficult it is with the tyre condition and the track temperature. Lavis there actually running straight ahead a little bit at the top end of the circuit, and you could hear the slide as well. So tyre condition here definitely a factor. That meant that he has dropped off the back of Kuznetsov a little bit, and Kuznetsov now with a little bit of breathing space to try and maintain 3rd position. Certainly help his championship aspirations, particularly in terms of retaining 3rd position on our current championship points table. Jack Boyd well out in front now. Nearly a 4-second gap accumulated with 4 minutes to go. So expect there to be probably 2 laps plus the end of this lap before he'll receive the white flag. Just a fantastic driving effort from Boyd to be absolutely consistent in his execution, even when getting pressured heavily from the cars behind him. Doing a really good job to keep everything straight and play the long game, keep the patience required to know that at some stage I have an opportunity to take the lead. In his case, back from the incumbent, and then drive off into the distance. And he is going to be very difficult to beat with only 3 rounds remaining after this one. As I said earlier in the broadcast, heading to Road America next week for the last of our sprint race in the series, and then we head to Sebring for an enduro, followed by Bathurst to conclude our series. So Sebring, challenge the drivers a little bit. It's a fantastic course on an old airstrip, deliberately set up for endurance racing, and obviously Mount Panorama needs no introduction whatsoever. With an hour and a half around there, consistency is absolutely what the drivers will need to show to deliver strong results. So going to be an interesting last couple of weeks. Steve Bartholomew's done his pit stop. He has popped out in front of Simon Nicholson. So that's a really good cumulative effort from him. He's currently sitting in 6th position, doing a ripping job in the Redback race team. GT Ford, I think the only car not to receive any parity adjustments whatsoever from iRacing, and that generally suggests that there's going to be an update of that vehicle at some stage, but it went in for its service and they've just given it an oil change and chucked it back out the door again. So fantastic effort from those guys. We love seeing the variety in the field. My favourite McLaren missing this evening. Just got basically a stable of BMWs with a couple of Fords, a Ferrari and some Mercedes thrown in for variety. Jump back a little bit further to Brady McHugh, who is our hard charger at the moment. He's up 14 positions in this feature race and has driven a really clean and consistent race to move himself up into that position. So great job from him to get that done. Jack Boyd now, head around. No slouch at all either, Jack Boyd. A I rating of just on 6,400, which is massive. That is up there with the pros in terms of I rating. So that being a point system accumulating based on your results of beating drivers that are better than you in race situations. So cracking safety rating too. So Jack Boyd, really the package here. He did drive at the Bathurst 1000, the Scops Bathurst 1000 race held on Sunday as he heads into the final lap. And to do that, you've generally got to be within the top 50 to 100 fastest V8 supercar drivers, dare I say, on the planet. Certainly in Australia to get a position in that one. So he is no slouch whatsoever, and showing that again tonight with another fantastically consistent run. It's not over here with Lavis and Kuznetsov. Still battling there, flashing on the headlights heavily, Kuznetsov, to just let slower traffic in front of him know that they need to get out of the way. They're coming through. Lavis has been very racy all night there. The lap driver doing a great job to get out of the way as we get towards the back half of this lap. Is going to be Boyd who will end up bringing us across the line. Stick with this battle here to see if Lavis can get the job done. His best bet's going to be around onto the back, onto the straight, across the start finish line. We're on with Jack Boyd. We'll keep an eye on the Kuznetsov Lavis situation, as it is Jack Boyd who brings home a clean sweep here at Interlagos, and he's done a fantastic job. And it is Lavis there getting the job done. I'm not sure what happened. And of course, as we've jumped away from it, Kuznetsov there slipping right down the order. There's something, he's out of fuel. He has run out of fuel. So Kuznetsov there not putting enough fuel in the BMW, and you can see him there limping it across the line. That is an absolute shame. A fantastic drive from Kuznetsov, and I don't think he's going to get that home. And that is a real pity for him. Let's just jump in. Yep, he is out of fuel, and out of fuel just shy of the start-finish line. Hopefully someone will give him a push across the line, the old gentlemanly bump to get him done, but he's stuck there. It is an uphill finish here, and he unfortunately is not going to get across the line. So what that means is that we've ended up with Jack Boyd on the top step of our podium tonight, followed by Brady Myers, both driving excellent races in both our sprint race and our feature race. And then Trent Lavis doing a fantastic job, pitting early and running it right through to the end, getting through, unfortunately, because Kuznetsov has run out of fuel just before the start-finish line. And in fact, if we jump on board with Trent Lavis, I think you find he had run out of fuel as well. So drivers cutting it real close to the line there tonight to get the job done. and then we'll jump in and grab a hold of our podium and just have a chat with them when they do make themselves available. What an absolutely cracking double feature this was tonight. The driving standards, absolutely brilliant. Guys doing a cracking job. And we have the mouth-watering prospect of Road America next week. We've got another 25-minute sprint race followed by our 45-minute feature with that mandatory pit stop. And it's going to be a great place to bring you some racing from. Then we head to Sebring for the second last round of the series. That is an hour 45 at Sebring. That will fly past. It is a great place to race as well. So just going to jump in. Thanks very much for the follow there, Frank, and thank you to everyone who followed us throughout the coverage this evening. We always appreciate your support, and without it there'd be no point in us putting on the show. As I am joined by Brady Myers and Trent as well, Trent Lavis, and I've just seen here Jack Boyd has jumped in too. Cracking race, gentlemen. It was on all night, both the sprint race and the feature race. We haven't really been able to stop flicking around across the field. Obviously, Jack, starting with you, congratulations on the daily double again. Looking pretty comfortable out there as well, particularly with the high track temps. How did you find it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, mainly just a game of saving the tyres for that second race, obviously pretty long one. So, yeah, had a pretty good race with Brady and Jeff there, and yeah, good to come away with the win.
And you must be looking forward to the prospect of potentially tying things up at Road America next week.
Sure. Hopefully put a little bit of practice in for that week, and yeah, see if we can wrap it up around early.
Brady led for a portion of the race there. You got the benefit of a little bit of contact between Jeff and Jack. We missed it there. What happened with you were a couple of seconds in front, and then we switched back, and Jack had gone through. Did you have an issue or?
Yeah, just spun it. Just got caught the grass on turn 3, I think, and yeah, just round I went.
Still though, another good round consolidating points for you with a couple of rounds to go.
Yeah, definitely. Good to bag some good points this round. Didn't really have the pace of Jack or Jeff tonight, but you know, slow and steady. Took advantage of the goings on up ahead, and I thought we might have been on there, but no, pace wasn't too great tonight. So well done, Jack. Obviously too quick.
And Trent, it looks like Rick ran out of fuel.
Yeah, he was conserving a bit towards the end there. I think he knew he was in trouble, and literally just out of the last tight left-hander there, he had a big cough, and that was it. Unfortunately for Rick, and it was up the hill as well, so he obviously couldn't quite roll over the finish line. Just behind, he dropped a fair few spots, which is unfortunate because he drove really well.
He did, yeah. No, it was a fantastic battle. We had our eye on you from very early on with that early pit stop. I think you pit on lap 2. And it was the idea there just to get out of the traffic and get some clean air?
I think it was about 5 or 6 laps in I actually pitted. What happened was at the start there is Ian had a bit of a moment, and I ended up just getting caught up with his slide. He sort of come across in front of me, and I just tagged him and straightened him up, and about 6 or 7 guys swamped us into the first hairpin, and it was a bit hairy there for about half a lap. I don't know if you caught that on the
yeah, we did actually.
On the tele.
Yeah,
that was pretty wild. That first little skirmishry there. I managed to do pretty well. I came out on top. I was like, wow, how did I get through that without getting tagged? But yeah, it was awesome. But it had a bit of damage on the car, so I came in early just to fix it up and hopefully hammer home towards the end, and it sort of worked out all right.
Yeah, and you're right. It was lap 6, and we covered that whole pinball wizard experience that Ian went through in race 2. He actually he got I said he copped the unlucky luck because he got swiped and moved around a little bit, and every time he did, there was someone there to catch him as he went into a slide and sort of straighten him up a bit. So I'm sure he'll thank you for that later on when he can.
I tried my best to straighten him up without bloody hitting him too hard, but because there was nowhere I could go, like I was going through him or over him, so I tried to slow it up and give him a gentle tap just to try and straighten him up. and obviously pinballed him into someone else trying to take advantage of the situation by sounds around the outside.
Yeah, no, and I mean the racing tonight was really close the whole way through the race. A great battle in the first race there as well, with I think positions basically 3 through 8 or 9, less than a second apart for the entire race, and keeping it fairly clean and getting the job done. So well done to you all. There's just a comment in the chat here, Jack, that you might want to take hold of before we ask if there's anyone that you want to thank, and Luke Bergens is just reminding you that there'll be no zinger if there's no thanks. So we'll flick over to you, and anyone that you want to thank for this evening.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Luke Bergens for spotting for me. Unfortunately, he couldn't race, but yeah, hopefully he gets the Macca back out next week.
Yeah, we're definitely hoping so. We love the variety on the grid. Sheer weight of BMWs means generally we're going to have a BMW winner, but I certainly like looking at the McLaren. Brady.
Yeah, just thanks to our partners Logitech G, Astro Gaming, Keeping Trolls, iLiveries, Own TV, Race Tech Seats, new partner that came on board, and you guys for the broadcast. Thanks, guys.
No worries at all. And last but not least, Trent.
I just want to thank everyone else for the awesome racing throughout the whole thing, especially Rick. Me and him were really tight that entire thing, so that was awesome having a nice clean battle with him. Minus my little mistake in the first race, which I had to redress, but we all pressed on and done well. But also like to thank the Right Sim Racing boys for putting me under their wing and looking after us for this series, because I don't really have anyone else to drive with besides Dennis, who's the DSO. And Skid Control, of course, and Kester for the sick livery.
Fantastic, boys, and obviously looking forward to Road America next week before we head to the last 2 rounds. Sebring for an hour 45, that'll be a cracker, and then obviously Mount Panorama never fails to impress. So looking forward to getting through those over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for your hard racing tonight. And that just about wraps it up for us. Tomorrow night we have a new short series on with Anscar, who we are fortunate enough to broadcast on behalf of. So that's starting tomorrow night. We've got street stocks and Super Late model racing at Nashville Fairgrounds. It's a new thing that we're starting. It's taking over from the 87 Series Grand National that wrapped up last week. And the racing will change week to week, but every Wednesday night from 8:10, just going to do things a little bit differently. We've dropped, unfortunately, the NZSR series that was going to join us on Thursday night has been postponed. So we're then off to IndyCar Friday, which is at Road America, I believe, this Friday. And we've got a few more series coming on as well over the coming weeks. So plenty going on as usual at FGME Cast into next week. As we mentioned before, we've got this fantastic series heading to Road America 2. We've got the AEE series on Thursday night at Mount Panorama, and then on the Saturday we're heading to Bathurst to do the unofficial Bathurst 1000 race, or the iRacing Bathurst 1000 race on the Saturday too. So there's plenty coming up as usual. We've got all your other esports as well, with some 2K21 golf, basketball, and Madden, which I still have not unwrapped from the packaging to play. So lots coming up on the channel. As always, thank you very much to everyone who has joined us here tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow night. We've got, we should have some Fall Guys at 5. I may not be there for that one, just depending on a couple of other things that are going on, but certainly I'll be in at 8:10 for Speedway, which I'm looking forward to. I'll be joined by Chris Purnell helping me out with the commentary there, and yeah, looking forward to it. So thanks very much for joining us on FGME Cast, your place for pace, and we will see you tomorrow night for some Speedway action on the channel. Thanks very much for watching.